I want to take this opportunity to welcome each one of us. Today we have the privilege to have a great friend of mine. One of the things that really moved my heart when I met Mike. Mike is mission oriented. I want to say to give a quote. It's about a guy I know most of the Americans. You know him. He's called Sergeant Major Keith Craig. He has written a book, Serving to Lead. This is what he said. He said, serving is for anyone who was told they were not good enough and they did not have enough of what it takes to make it. Gonna repeat it again. Serving is for anyone who was told they were not good enough and they did not have enough of what it takes to make it. And when I read that book and that quote, I got it, I saw myself in that quote. I remember there was sometimes somebody who was leading an organization. He looked at me and he told me, Peter, you can't make it. And even when I was doing my undergrad, I remember a professor telling me that, Peter, stop wasting my time, you can't make it. The only thing she didn't know is that she was trying to teach me cursive writing. And guess what? I was 40, and it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. So I ended up getting a D in cursive writing. And I remember her telling me that stop wasting my time, you cannot make it. Down the line, 5 years, I went back to that seminary and I showed her, I discussed with her and I showed her my certificate, Master's in Theological Studies. And I showed you my Doctor of Ministries. And then later on I went there and she asked me, Peter, can you come and teach one of my class when I was about to finish my PhD? Serving is for the people who were told they cannot make it. And they were told that they were not enough to do it. And when I read that quote, I remembered the story that Mike shared to me about him and how his consistency and the resilience made him to become who he is today and lead a big organization. So join with me as I welcome Mike to share with us about his story.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm honored to be here and to share with you this morning. And it's a real blessing and honor to work with Peter and to have a friendship that's developed over many years now, and the things we've got to work on together, and being able to see the work and to participate in the work in Kenya has been a real blessing in my life. And your quote, Peter, boy, it goes so right along with what kind of my theme is today. And because I was that guy, you know, in grade school that felt inadequate, that felt like I would never make it, that felt I was extremely shy and, you know, was not at the top of the class, and, you know, had some challenges with even just sitting in a classroom. Not a classroom type learner. I'm more of a hands-on visual type learner. So being in a classroom for me as a child was a very challenging thing. And, you know, in the world today, if you can't sit in a classroom for 5, 6, 7 hours a day and take in a bunch of information and memorize it and be able to spit that information back out, you don't fit in the you know, the pattern, the way that things are designed to go. So I didn't fit in the pattern. And so I felt inadequate. I felt weak. I felt small. And for me, as a faith-based person, I was blessed early in my life to have people on the spiritual side of my life speak truth into me that encouraged me, that strengthened me. There were verses that I learned like 2 Corinthians 12:10. That's why for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults and hardship and persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I'm strong. And also in 1 Corinthians 1:27, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. You know, and I tell people, I say, you know, if you feel weak, if you feel small, you're exactly the kind of person God's looking for. God can use you. God can do extraordinary things in your life, in and through you, that you can't even imagine. When I was that small child back in grade school, I never imagined the things God would allow me to participate in, the places I would go. And as I share my story, I don't want to bring honor or glory to myself, only to God, because I am an inadequate, person that really, it's only through His strength that I've been able to do some pretty fun and exciting and crazy things in my life. So kind of what and as I'm speaking, if any of you have questions or thoughts, don't hesitate to jump in, and feel free to make this a discussion as well. But I, early on, I'm just going to kind of tell my story and where I ended up. And I'll start with kind of the back end. I just recently sold my company about 1.5 years ago. And my company was a design construction firm that we grew and developed into a company that designed and built facilities for the U.S. military and the U.S. government, literally all around the world. We've done facilities in the Middle East, in Japan, in Europe, in all throughout the continental U.S., and remote islands in the South Pacific, all kinds of crazy things. So, I sold that company about 1.5 years ago. And so I tell people I'm not retired. I'm just doing less of what I don't like to do and more of what I like to do. And more of what I like to do is things like working with Peter. So I'm excited that I have more time to do those types of things. So now going way back, when I graduated high school, my focus was in building construction. I started in the building industry as a laborer, and right out of high school, digging ditches. And I was excited to be out of the classroom, out in the field, doing something with my hands, seeing some progress for my labor. And I started as a ditch digger at $2 an hour, and I thought I was on top of the world because I was out there doing something. And after my first week of work, my boss came to me and he said, "Mike, you were so good at what you do and you work so hard. I'm going to give you a raise to $2.50 an hour." And I thought, wow, I'm making big money now. I'm successful. I'm making dollars. Some bitches were, if it was supposed to be 2 feet, I'd do just a little more. And I would do all the digging, working with the jackhammer. And after a little while, my boss said, "You're doing a great job, Mike. How about if you be a carpenter's apprentice now?" So now I'm out of the ditch and I'm working with a carpenter kind of as his helper, learning the trade. And over time, I started picking up all those skills. And my boss said to me, "You know what, Mike? You're doing great as an apprentice. You can start working as a carpenter now." So then I was working with a carpenter, building buildings, framing, hanging doors, building cabinets, all kinds of those types of activities. Loving what I was doing, and all the time saying, I'm going to be the absolute best I can be. If I'm building cabinets, they're going to be the best cabinets anybody ever saw. If I'm hanging a door, it's going to be the truest, straightest, most level and plumb door that ever was hung. And that was my attitude every day. I wanted to be better than anyone else on the job site. I wanted to be the best there was. And so over time, my boss came to me and said, "Hey, you've been around the construction, all the things. I want you to be a superintendent because I want you to run the job. I want you to be over the subcontractors, over the other carpenters." And so I started running projects at that point. And after a number of years, then I ended up moving up to a project manager. Now I'm in the office doing estimates, meeting with customers, working on designs of new projects. And so I continued to do that. And then I was working for a large developer in San Diego building condominium buildings. I was on a project that was 640 condominium units, working on that project. And I married my wife, Kathy, and her happened to be a building contractor. And he started asking me if I would come to work for him. I don't know if that's a good idea, but finally I said, okay, I'll try that. I came to work for him, and after about 4 years, he started me having run the companies. Like, you do a great job as a project manager, but why don't you be the general manager over the entire company? So I started running that company. I think I was about 28 or 9 years old at that time. And after a period of a few more years, he said, hey, if you would like, I'll sell you this company. So at that time, we were a pretty small company, just starting to get into some of the government facility work. I said, yeah, I would like to buy the company. I actually bought the company, and he gave me a loan for a big part of that. And over the next 26 years or so, we built that company into the international construction company that it was. And we would do seminars teaching military engineers how to design and build these facilities. There were specialized facilities that were designed for classified government programs. So any program that had a level of classification would have to be done in these specialized facilities that we designed and built. So we would teach these seminars to engineers, military engineers for defense companies. And the guy that worked for me that helped me teach these seminars, we both were only school educated. I said, boy, if these engineers knew that they had 2 high school educated guys teaching 40, 50 engineers with all these fancy degrees and stuff, and teaching them how to build facilities. Fun for us to opportunity, but I always say one of the greatest teachers is experience. It's hard to replace experience with just school or classroom learning. So I'm here to knock it in any way, shape, or form because I never stop learning. I love to. In fact, I read 2 or 3 books a day. From when I got out of high school, I've been reading books. Whenever I didn't understand something or needed to learn something, I would teach me, to help me. So I learned through those ways, and reading with consultants, kind of working hands-on. I love to learn, and I think it's absolutely critical that we're all learners throughout our whole life. Some of us, the classroom system works well, and that's a great way we learn. I'm just not one of those guys. So as I talk about my story, also one thing that I didn't tell you in that story is that after becoming an apprentice, I had of a international Christian organization called Assisting Indigenous Development come to me when I was 21 years. And he said, hey, would you come to Papua New Guinea and teach carpentry? We have a program where their idea was, if you teach fish, you feed them for a day. If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So their idea to indigenous people, these types of skills, they had an auto mechanics program, agriculture construction program. So I went over there to teach carpentry to the nationals there. So my first day I got on the job, the director took me to a site where we were going to build a house. And he said, here's your crew of guys that you to teach. I have to go take care of, and I'll be back in a couple of hours. I said, okay. So he left, I got the guys together, and I said, okay, we're starting with the foundation. Have any of you done any foundation work before? And they all, and I said, okay, do any of you speak English? Nobody's responding. So literally I was dropped in to say, nobody speaks a word of English, pointing and, ring and things to get things done that first day. But over the course of that time, I the local pigeon communicate. But so over that course, a year teaching carpentry to these guys. It was I loved the people of Papua New Guinea. And when at the end of my term, I came back to San Diego, and I was asked to go back again. They wanted me, and so I began to pray. Is that something I should do? Should I go back? Is that but I really want to be a building contractor. I really kind of want to pursue that, and I feel called to that. And so I talked to my dad, and I said, what should I? And he's like, well, you got to seek God and see what he tells you. And I'm like, well, that's not right now. And then I went to my pastor. He said basically the same thing, but he said, you could do great in the foreign field, but, don't forget to look at the construction industry. That is a mission field as well. And so I started to think, wow, that's interesting. When I think about going into construction as a platform I kind of start having a whole different mindset about it. And so that's one of my things I like to teach on, is that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, wherever we're placed, that is a platform to serve, a platform to impact people's lives, a platform to invest in other people. John Maxwell always, if you want to be successful in the success of people. So that's what I began to do. I prayed. I ended up deciding to stay and to go into of the construction industry, to missionary to the construction industry. And I've had so many groups with working with subcontractors and actually having the opportunity to be with guys in the field to receive Christ, to acted and changed because I was there in that place, willing to be a missionary to the construction industry. So we never know where God is going to take us. And when we have that attitude to serve, and even when I talk to people not necessarily my faith or don't have, I say these principles are universal. Whether you are not, you're in God or you're a Buddhist or you're something else, whatever it might be, these principles are timeless. They're truth-filled principles that will bring benefit to your life, no matter your religious or spiritual background is. God works through these principles universally, and it's incredible to see what happens when you have the mindset, the attitude, serve and invest. Success of the people around you can happen for you. So I love the idea ordinary people can do ordinary things. I myself is just an ordinary person. I've had the opportunity to do projects all over the world. I've had the opportunity to teach Dr.Peter in Kenya, in Costa Rica, in Brazil, in many other countries I would find myself like Peter. We're teaching to the governor in Mequani County and a bunch of government leaders. And I'm thinking, who am I to be here to teaching these people? I'm so honored to be here to share my story, to talk about my experience, and to try to encourage and to motivate and to inspire people. And I really see this as something that having just that little bit of faith and belief that even if people tell you, you're not going to be anything, you feel small, you feel weak, that can be so overcome, and you can so accomplish things that you never imagined, things that you never, when you were young, being involved in or having the opportunity to do. So that's my story. And I don't know
Mike, if I can, Mike, if I can jump in, one of the most interesting story that I've heard you tell over and over, and I think it has gotten the attention of many people is, did you think one day you would own that organization when you were digging?
No, if I was digging that ditch, someone walked up to me and said, "Hey, Mike, just by the way, you're going to be the owner and construction company and building facilities that are going to be many countries around the world and throughout the U.S." I would have looked up at that person from down in my ditch, leaning on my shovel, and I would have said, "I'm really sorry, but you got the wrong guy. That's not me. That's not who I am." And I didn't have a vision for that. But as I began to continuing work, my vision would grow little by little. I started to see more of who I was and what I could become.
Mike, I know that John Maxwell was your pastor, and some of the things that you have learned concerning leadership from Maxwell.
Well, yeah, I feel very fortunate that John's my pastor for 15 years, and we're good friends and have, I've enjoyed learning many, many things from him and seeing him grow into the lead guru that he is today. And, a lot of the material that he would write books on and teach, he developed in those 15 years while he was pastor. We had a very strong emphasis on leadership. There was programs designed to raise up and develop leaders in our church and to give opportunities for leadership. And so I see my life as a critical time period where I learned and grew and developed as a leader, which was critical for me in the growing and leading my business. I feel like if I didn't have that experience of John Maxwell and other leaders, Dan Ryland was also there, pouring into my life, developing me, giving me opportunity to lead, seeing in me something that I didn't necessarily see in myself. I think we all appreciate a positive word, a word spoken to us about something we're doing well. It energizes us. It gives us motivation. And we as leaders have such power to encourage and to strengthen people that are under us or that we're alongside by speaking that kind of truth into their lives, by seeing things in them that they may not necessarily see for themselves. So those kind of leaders speaking into my life, telling me or having the confidence in me to say, "Hey, Mike," to come alongside me, put their arm around my shoulder and say, we're developing some new leadership groups, and I'd like you to consider being a leader for one of these groups. When I was a young man, still growing, not really seeing myself as much of a leader, to have someone I really look up to come to me and have that kind of confidence in me to do that. And then not only give me the opportunity to lead, but continue to walk alongside me and to teach me and to mentor me and to give me insight into what a good leader is, what that looks like. So I had those opportunities with John Maxwell and, as I said, Dan Ryland, Tim Elmore, some great leaders that have had significant influence in my life. And so now, as I continue to grow, I look for those opportunities to give that kind of encouragement into other people's lives. Our company is a servant-led organization. Everyone who's in leadership in that organization is taught and mentored in servant leadership principles and ideals, values, and priorities. And so it's really fun for me to see. I've been out of the company as the owner for a year and a half now, I still work there as a part-time consultant a couple days a week. And to see that culture continue, the new CEO that I raised up and mentored and worked with over the last 3 to 4 years prior to selling the company to him, he completely agreed with and saw value in the student or servant leadership ideals and principles for leading the company. And so now the company, I think, has about 45 employees. And I see the emails of employees encouraging each other in saying, wow, I've never worked at a place that has such a great environment, or a place where people care for people so much, a place where people are valued. And so I see those things, and it brings me such joy just to see that culture continue even after I'm not the primary leader there any longer. So you can pass on this legacy of the servant leadership. It's powerful. I love Art Barter, what he's got a section on how he leads the Servant Leader Institute here in San Diego and Carlsbad, California. And he gives a seminar talking about how when you have a servant-led organization, how it's actually more profitable than the regular model of the top-down, heavy leadership at the top, and how where you will have a happier workforce. You have less turnover. You have more productive people. You have people that are committed to the mission. You have people who take ownership of that organization. All of those factors actually contribute to the bottom line. It makes you more efficient. It makes you more profitable. It makes your customers more satisfied, which brings you more return business. He goes through a whole thing of how all these factors actually produce a more profitable company. And so, I wasn't necessarily doing that for the profit motive, but it's amazing to see how all of those principles actually produces a profit.
Mike, I think one of the things that you shared, and really it was like you received a lot of questions in Makueni, is when you told them you grew up this company, it became a great company, and at the climax of the company, you decided that you are going to sell. And I remember many people, even the governor, asking him, Mike, you are going to sell the company, you are not going to give it to one of your son. And just tell us how really you came to that point that you could sell your company that you have invested a lot, and then you are giving it away. In our culture, Africa is like, come on, I built this one, I've got to leave it to my son or maybe to my child. And then you sell that company to somebody who is not your son. How did that work?
Yeah, I remember in Kenya, them being very puzzled by that whole thing. Really kind of an interesting thing that, like you say, in the Kenya, that would not be a normal thing to happen. In the US, a lot of times are grown up sons, by the way, that pursued their own interests. They, the design and construction business was significantly interested in. They did work for me for a period of time, both of them, but they pursued their own interests. Interestingly enough, the son worked for Disney, and he works in their design and construction department. They call it Disney Imagineering. So he's involved in projects, things like that. So he did end up going kind of into the design and construction world, but kind of a different twist on it. And he enjoys that. He loves that and is excited about what he's doing. My other son actually is in advertising and does photo shooting, photo editing of products and things like that. So They have different interests, so they early on they really didn't see an interest with being in the company to the point where they would continue the business. So my options were either to continue to run the business, which that's a great option still, and then the other option was to sell the business. And then when I decided, well, I want to, what was my motivation for selling? Love to do things like what I'm doing, like I did. So, and a mission organization. I'm on several board things. Me think, and I said, okay, either I can keep running the company, which gives me a platform for ministry into the construction industry. That's a good thing. I still have some time I can carve out for these other things, but I really wanted to have more freedom to the things that I'm involved in. And so then I started looking, either I can sell the company to an outside company that would just buy it and run it the way they want. I could develop someone from within the company to take over, in which case my vision and culture that I had established would have a better chance of continuing. So that was the route I chose. The young man that I chose and mentored and raised up to take over and purchase the business from me has done a fantastic job. He's a very vision-oriented individual, very servant leader oriented. His name is Josh God Connect, and he is doing a great job. And so I'm thrilled that the vision's continuing, the culture's continuing, and it allows me to spend the time doing the things that I'm really excited about. And so, it's been kind of a bummer that right when I'm freed up to do more, than the COVID situation happened. And so we had to hunker down like everyone else. But I'm looking forward as things open up. I've been invited to go to Cuba and back to Costa Rica and some other Central American countries, of course, Kenya with Peter, and involved in construction projects and teaching. And these are things that just energize me, excite me. And so that was really the driver for why I decided to sell the business. And it's, I feel, been a great decision and given me the opportunity to do more of what I enjoy doing.
What can you, Mike, what hand advice can you give to a person who is thinking going to a business, or maybe who is in a business and it's like they're saying, okay, how about this thing called servant leadership? Is it something that is workable? Is it something that is going to reduce my power, or maybe to take away my authority from the company, or maybe taking away ownership? So how would you coach or maybe advise such a kind of a person who really wants to bring servant leadership in their organization, or maybe it is in a church administration? So what kind of a hand advice you can give to such a person?
Yeah, when I'm talking to younger business owners, people that I'm mentoring, and this, we always serve a significant part of my life and my experience. And a lot of times the discussion goes kind of as Peter's talking, well, am I giving up my power, my authority by, serving those who are under me? And I say, by empowering others around you, you are literally empowering yourself, because the more you have people around you that have empowerment to do what needs to be done, it frees you up to do other things that are more related to vision, things that are, the important things if you're familiar with Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, there's a 1 quadrant that's important, urgent things. It gives you the opportunity to do those things that are very important, but they're not urgent. The things that are more long-term, things that are working on your business instead of in your business and things like that. So, but I always say, when you're working with people, when you're investing in people, it's important to have a good understanding of, how you delegate. There's key things you want to do. You want to lay out the expectations. You want to set deadlines. You want to schedule check-ins. And then when things go well, you tell them that went well. When it doesn't go well, you hold them accountable. You talk about what could have been done better, what went right, what went wrong. And then, you're developing those people around you. Sometimes I have people say, well, I don't have anyone around me. I have only myself. I work for my boss and there's no one under me. How can I be a servant leader? Well, you start by serving the boss that you work for and be a servant leader to yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge, invest in your skill, invest in the way your attitude, early on is your attitude. Meaning, if you have a poor attitude, your altitude to go down, down, down. But if you have a great attitude, it's going to put you on a projection to go up. And we control our attitudes, It's like, I'm frustrated with my wife. I'm telling her how frustrated I am. The phone rings, I pick it up, and half a second earlier, I'm like, and I told you not, then I pick up, yeah, how can I help you? Instantly my attitude changes. That's a choice I make. So in my work, in my my marriage, in my life, I realize, I have control over my attitude. I have control whether I have an attitude for going up or an attitude for going down. So your attitude determines your altitude. And I wanted my altitude to be going up. So I worked on choosing the right attitude in every situation, not be on an upward trajectory.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, for sharing up that one. One of the things that I think I've learned with you is that heart of serving others that you have. And want to tell you that after the COVID, we are making arrangement for you to come to Kenya. You should know that people here in Kenya,
I'm excited to come.
Yes, people in Kenya, they are always asking me, where is Mike? Where is Mike? I know Bishop Jackson is with us here and he has attended most of your teachings here in Kenya. So we really appreciate your work that you have done in Kenya and you continue doing in Kenya. Let me open up now for anyone who has got any question for Mike. It's open now. You can just unmute yourself and ask any question that you want to Mike.
I'm going to have to leave here right at 1 o'clock or 11 at the top of the hour. So okay. I wanted to just quickly say how much I've appreciated Mike because you wouldn't know this, so I'll tell you that before I met Mike, I had several people tell me about him as a Christian business owner who was somebody that was consistent, someone that you could look to as a model of a Christian business person. So when he told us today about his desire to see the culture within the organization continue, that's different. That's different from the ways of the world, for sure. The fact that he raised up this individual who I'm sure there would be a very long story there of someone he saw that had that same heart and same potential. So whether it's within the ministry, within business, that I'll look to say that's something that it does work. And when Mike referred to Art Barter talking about organizations, we've seen examples of that, and we've seen those that have gone with a short-term perspective to get as much as they can out of something, and they leave a wake of destruction. Mm-hmm. Versus those who invest in people within an organization and spend time raising them up, sometimes getting people that disappoint you, but in the end, the long term will always pay out better. So I really enjoyed this time listening, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Tori. Just before Tori jumps out, we serve the same organization, Africa Servant Leadership Initiative in the US. We serve together with them. Mike is our treasurer, Tori is our secretary, and we have another director who will be coming, I think, later next month to share also about servant leadership. So we serve together, four of us. We serve together in the US with that in that organization, Africa Servant Leadership, and I think ours is only about serving others and investing in the lives of others and making sure that we bring up a generation of authentic leaders who want to serve other people. Any other person want to ask Mike question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Mulenge. Maybe I can go next.
Yes, go next.
Thank you very much, Mike. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to hear your story and really inspirational. So my question will be, as you look back and retrospect in your career and in your journey in business and also in life as a servant leader, are there, when you faced setbacks or disappointments, be it to yourself or to the people that you are leading, what things will you advise a young person when facing such setbacks? Are there like specific things that I should keep in mind to get me through such setbacks as an individual and as a leader when I have people who I am leading, a servant leader, when they are going through setbacks for themselves? How do you guide them through such time?
Excellent question. So I think there's, address two types of setbacks. One setback is in the bigger picture, like say with a business or an organization. And then there are setbacks personally or individually. They could be health, could be challenges with family, with relationships. It could be a setback in your living situation, your housing, whatever. Those are all things that we deal with. And let me speak to that first, in that I think as a servant leader, it's important to be connected to a servant leader community. So for instance, for me in my personal life, I was always connected to a group of men, a small group of 8 to 10 guys that we met every week. And when I was facing those kinds of setbacks and those challenges, I had a group of men around me that would support me, encourage me, help me see different perspective, give me ideas, options, things maybe I didn't think about. So I've always seen that as a critical thing in my life, to be connected with a small group of men for those types of things. Now in business, I had another group that I was involved with, and Tori's also involved in this organization, Fellowship of Companies for Christ International. And we would meet with a group of Christian business owners once a week, and we would talk about the principles of servant leadership, of how do you implement biblical principles of business. And when I would have backs in my business or in my vision and trying to move forward in doing, I had this group of men that would encourage me, give me ideas, help me look at different perspectives, things I wouldn't think of. So these were invaluable resources to me for me personally, as well as my business. Having these group of men around me, between the two groups, you know, sometimes, yeah, good to see you, Tori, thanks. The guys from my business group would help speak into my life, personal things, and vice versa. So not that one is mutually exclusive, but having that connection of relationships. And really being a servant leader is about relationships.
Mhm.
And so you need to have that a group that you're connected with, because when you're just forging through on your own and you don't have connection with other people that have like-minded ideas, that have the same type of vision as you, it's easy to become discouraged, to not find any encouragement, and to literally give up. So that's my biggest, I guess, encouragement to, you know, make sure you have those people.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we go next to Reverend Mwalua.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mlingi, and your testimony of God led you to where you are. Yeah, I was just thinking about how to react and how to share my question. And I have come to the conclusion that I will not ask a question because it will take me about 20 minutes to ask what I want to ask. I and Dr. Mlingi share many aspects of life. And when he returned, he came looking for me, and we had a couple of meetings and in-depth discussions about this whole area of servant leadership. And then I shared with him my vision for not just for the church, but for this country. And as a result, I am gaining day by day. I am gaining momentum as we interact in this forum, and also with Dr. Mlingi, who is on the ground here in Kenya. And I would like to seek your permission, Mike, at some point through Dr. Mlingi to interact a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I have opinions on the forum, a privilege to interact, shall we say, the hierarchy, and Dr. Mlingi knows that. But the we have in the country is that of men and women understanding their calling, especially in leadership. And so you can see how my 20 minutes will be consumed before I even ask my question.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am on a journey, and I'm really joining this journey together with Dr. Mlingi to seek God's mind and his leadership to impact not just where we are, not just Kenya, but Africa and wherever else that God will open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so in few words, I would like to seek that more interaction so I can shoot some questions to seek clarification and perhaps more education in this area, and perhaps to look at what you have already done with Dr. Mlingi through the people in this area of Kenya, but to see how we can gather more that are in leadership that we are in touch with, so that we can revolutionize, change the way Africa is being run. I don't want to get into that. You know, I believe that Africa is one of the richest continents, and yet the resources of Africa fall into the hands of these unscrupulous people who squander it, who store it out place where it doesn't rain. And I am so excited about what God is doing, and hearing your testimony today has put such a heartbeat in my own spirit. And just to thank you, Mike, I read Maxwell like most people should. I read Maxwell. I enjoy him. I'm sure I will learn quite a lot from your experience with him as a choice. God drops people from heaven, some to the United States, others in South America, others in Germany, and others right here in Kenya. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Once again, just to thank you and to say that I have that desire to interact more. And so I won't take more time that's really necessary here, but God bless you and thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm happy to schedule another Zoom meeting or whatever to spend more time with you and Dr. Malinge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Malua. This man of God, Malua, really helped me grow to become who I am today. And I really want to have great respect. Anybody got a question before we wrap up? Courage, Tekeba.
And I just wanted to say, Mike, I think, has blown me away because his humility is something I would not stand myself. Working for my father-in-law, I just put myself in his shoes and I reflected on it, and I said, I think we need to be more down to earth, and that humility is what has challenged me today. And thank you for sharing your story, Mike. It encourages some of us who are struggling with things that are not really even important, because I would think, why would I work for my father-in-law? But here you are, you've done it and you've succeeded at doing it. So yeah, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Anybody else?
Mina.
Oh, Mina. Where is Mina? Oh, yes, Mina. I was looking for you anyway. Mina.
Well, good day. Foremost, congratulations to Athlete community, because, and you continue to hear the word inspiring, but the motivation, the lessons that I personally have been able to somehow build into what it is I do as a business, I am just flattered, because I've had an opportunity, number one, to hear guest speakers, Tori, the first one, right? Second, our young Collins, him in our business, and the connection there. I heard this word, the connection with relationships, Mike, and you being the third one. It's just in awe hearing how you constantly were rejuvenating. Did you feel you were rejuvenating when you went from that next step and step? I don't call it a ladder. You had lateral changes, then you had these like jumps and spikes. And then I have a question regarding your support with Cuba, because Cuba, they cannot bring anything in. You'd have to build it there. Like they build their cars, they build their mufflers. You cannot bring export. So I'm curious as to the Cuban support that you were involved or were asked to be involved in.
Yeah, in Cuba, I'm working with an organization called Multiplication Network Ministry. It's a church planting ministry. So they it's kind of like a house church planting ministry. So they're not building buildings. They teach that, there's 3 myths with church planting. One is that you need a building. You don't need a building. Number 2, that you need to do it full time. You don't have to be a pastor full time. And number 3, that you need a master's degree in divinity. And they provide just-in-time training, teaching, and mentoring leaders to become pastors. So we go various places in the world and teach that message. And then they have a 2-year curriculum for training and mentoring pastors all over the world. They're currently in 58 countries. The teaching is in 10 languages. So I have lots of opportunity, and I'm on the board of that organization as well. So I have lots of opportunities to go to different places in the world and teach not only servant leadership, but church planting leadership as well.
Thank you.
So we're not building anything in Cuba other than the church.
The church. Oh, that's excellent, because the way into Cuba, at least the way I did, and I only went one time, and it was quick. It was Memorial Day weekend for 4 days, but I went with what you would call cultural, religious interchange. So
Oh, wow.
that's how we were able to get in. Otherwise, you can't get into Cuba, right? That way. So I can understand that. And it's so needed because the architecture is so beautiful, but they've not been able to renovate for years. As you know, right? It's historical.
Yeah.
Old Cuba, which is called Habana Vieja, and then you have Cuba. So it's just really beautiful. And I hear other people say that you've reached out there in ministry, just melts my heart. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
As well as Africa and everywhere else you've been touching.
And
Congratulations.
Just as a side note, over the years have developed just kind of a working ability to speak Spanish. I'm not completely fluent by any means, but that's been one of the things that's helped me in the Latin American country that I go to and minister with. Is God has helped me to develop language skills as well. So I speak several languges, but not fluently enough. I even know a little Swahili, huh, Peter? Just a little.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So I really want to appreciate you so much, and thank you for bringing up that wonderful presentation. I know that we are going to have, and we are in Kenya. We are starting a 4-month training on pastors on servant leadership. We developed our curriculum. We presented our curriculum to the government, and they approved it, and they gave us some go ahead. So actually, we are starting our first class at Cambo, at Bishop Jackson Moema at Cambo. So if the restrictions of COVID will be lifted up, we should have our first class on 7th next May. So we decided that we are going to have a 4-month training on pastors on servant leadership, leading like Jesus. And I'm so thrilled that I can't wait just to start that class. So keep us in prayers, and Kenyans who are here, you are welcome to join. It's going to be a very flexible class where you can come one day, you study one full day, and then you take your materials home, meet again, and that's what we are going to do. In the process also working a curriculum, trying to build a website where we are going to hover an online on servant leadership, and is going to reach. So immediately the online and the online arrangement are going to be made. I will announce it. And because I've received some people even from Israel, we have a lady from Israel who want to join to study a certificate in servant leadership. So these are some of the things that we are working on, and they are coming up. Keep us praying for us, and you are welcome to get in touch with me. How you can register for that class, and also you can get in touch with the Bishop Moema. So that's all what we want to tell you. The other time you go to our our YouTube, and you can subscribe. I want to give Han an opportunity to share how you can subscribe. Han, can you share with us how we can subscribe?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, you'll just go to YouTube, then you search for Dr. Peter Mulinge. You'll see the subscribe button. Please do subscribe. We have a number of videos which we have uploaded. Please share the videos on your Facebook and on your pages so that we can get more people view what we get when we join these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, I know we've got past our time, and I really want to appreciate, again, I want to say thank you I want to say thank you to Wayata. I wish you could say to us because I think you are new face today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mulinge. My good names are Charles Mudama.
Okay.
And Dr. Mulinge is, I believe, is my neighbor at home, and he's really encouraged me to be part of this forum. I've tried as much as possible, and my schedule has been very tight. And I'm very thrilled by Mike's presentation. It's really touched me. That part of my pickup point today is tonight is attitude and attitude. I think that is very, very insightful in terms of leadership. And this idea of servant leadership, I think this is what we need in Africa, especially in Kenya in particular, and more so in the political arena. I was trying to think about it, how we can integrate this training and at least try to build our leaders and give short courses and seminars and workshops, so that we can be able to encourage or even to provide an input into our leaders, especially those leaders who are leading the community. How servant leadership can work. I think it's a very useful, a very important tool, and I want to encourage Dr. Mulinge to continue this way and expand the horizon to reach out to many people and those who are in leadership. And partly, I think I'll be part of the team to support. I may not qualify to be a pastor, but I think I am. And thank you very much, Dr. Mulinge, and the rest of Mike for your presentation and all the colleagues around. It's a good thing. Let us move forward and let us support Dr. Mulinge. I'm a university don, and besides that, I'm also a leader. I lead a community-based organization. Dr. Mulinge is aware of our professional forum where I participate actively, and also in the university I hold various dockets of leadership. And I think this one here, it's a good one, servant leadership. I never thought about it, but now I start thinking about it. Thank you very much, Dr. Mulinge and my colleague.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have been looking forward to have you come to this forum, and I want you to, as you go home, go share out, invite the people, tell people the word of this program. We don't charge, it's free. And then just invite many people to jam in. Our next one will be on 14th of next month. We are going to have another guest speaker, and he's very, very dynamic young man, also from California, and he will be also speaking to us about serving, and in connection with the nutrition. Because as servant leader, you need to know how to eat well as you lead other people. So that other leader will be speaking to us about nutrition on 14th. And then on 28th of this month, we are going to have Reverend Mwalwa, who will be our guest speaker. So those few words, may God bless you. It was a great pleasure to see you and for you to come. Let us give a clap to Mike for that wonderful presentation. Thank you, Mike, so much. God bless you, and God bless you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.